We are. I do not see the accept recording, Dan.
I saw it, Joseph.
Okay. You hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. I have no doubt that our formula for peace, for a federal government, for the people of Israel and Palestine, will materialize and will become a reality. It is the only, as far as I'm concerned, the only formula that makes sense, that will give peace to the Palestinians and the Israeli people that deserve peace. The Israeli government has not been able to give peace to the Israeli people, to the Jewish people, or the Palestinian people. In fact, it has been engaged in constant violence and constant wars ever since it existed. Ever since the creation of the state of Israel as a Jewish state, we had the creation of Palestinian governments that were created because of the formula that the Israeli government has created for a Jewish state. The Palestinian government has never been independent, separate, democratic government as well, and they have not been able to give peace to the Palestinian or the Israeli people. In fact, there is no single legitimate government in the entire area of Israel and Palestine. And we have a formula for creating a federal government for the people of Israel and Palestine, regardless of whether the Israeli or the Palestinian government exist or not. The federal government that we are proposing does not necessitate, does not require the existence of the Israeli or the Palestinian government. We are assuming that they will continue to exist, and our formula for peace for federal government takes into consideration that those governments will continue to exist. However, the existence of the Israeli or the Palestinian governments is not required in order to have a federal government for the entire area. We are motivated by peace to the people of Israel and Palestine. We believe, in fact, it is clear that neither the Israeli nor the Palestinian governments have been able to give peace to the people of Israel and Palestine. It is our responsibility at this time to demonstrate to the people of the world that there is a formula for peace, and enough is enough with these constant wars, and we can create a federal government, because a federal government is a product that is created by people, and people can create a government, and the people are the people of Israel and Palestine. My name is Joseph Avisar, and my email is josephAvisar@gmail.com. Our website is ipconfederation.org, and you can see the constitution of the federal government that we are proposing. The federal government will be, the constitution, I'm sorry, is in 3 languages. You can look here, English, Arabic, English, Hebrew, and Arabic, and you can read the constitution. We will be discussing the constitution in this simulation today. The constitution speaks about a democracy with 3 branches, a legislative branch with 300 parliament members, an executive branch with president and vice president, 1 Palestinian and 1 Israeli rotating in 2 years, and a judicial branch with Israeli and Palestinian judges together based on equality for both people. We started a meetup group, and I'm asking you to join the IPC meetup group. Nasir will be placing the link to our meetup group, and please use that link in order to join our IPC meetup group. This will give us an opportunity to discuss the IPC or any other ideas independently of the simulations that we are conducting every 2 weeks. And you will be able to talk to each other and get each other's information and exchange information. So Nasir will put the link on the chat, and you can, and I hope that you will join our meetup group. Today's simulation guest is Omar Shaban. Omar Shaban was born in Gaza in 1962 to a Palestinian refugee family. He is an analyst specializing in the political economy of the Middle East and the founder of PalThink for strategic studies. He was a candidate in the first Palestinian parliamentary elections in 1996 and remains independent of any political affiliations. Omar regularly contributes to various international magazines and has been interviewed by several well-known international newspapers. He occasionally participates in conferences on political and economic issues, including Palestinian affairs, such as the reconstruction of Gaza, reconciliation between Hamas and Fatah, the Arab-Israeli conflict, and Euro-Mediterranean cooperation. Omar Shaban holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Egypt, which he received in 1984, and a master's degree in entrepreneurial studies from Stirling University in Scotland, which he received in 1995, and a second master's degree in development from Geneva, which he obtained from the Geneva Graduate Institute in 2023. Omar left Gaza in mid-October 2023 and now resides in Cairo. Our next guest on January 19 will be Walid Shumali. He is the co-founder and the director of the Palestinian Center for Research and Cultural Dialogue, PCRD. On January 28, we are going to have an ad, a quarter-page ad in the Washington Post, inviting the people of the Washington Post. Just to remind you that Washington is the capital of the federal government of the United States. We are proposing a federal government for the people of Israel and Palestine. So we should have a good audience in Washington, D.C., because they believe in what we believe, which is a federal government. In fact, most of the people, or many of the people there, are employees of the federal government. We are inviting the readers of the Washington Post to take part in our simulations, just like we did last month with the readers of the New York Times. And we are asking for your donations to help us pay for this ad. On February 2nd, we will have Ray Hanania. He is an award-winning Palestinian-American journalist who covered national and international policies. On February 16, we will have Professor Shaul Magid, who is a professor of Jewish and Religious Studies at Dartmouth College, and I believe also at Harvard. We are proposing a federal government for the people of Israel and Palestine. We are proposing that this government will give a veto power to the government of Israel and Palestine if they exist. We're not wishing for them not to exist. We don't believe that they're not going to exist. But the point is that the federal government will survive and will be created and continue to exist whether or not the Israeli or the Palestinian governments exist. The federal government will give a veto power to the Israeli and the Palestinian governments if the legislation they pass violate their sovereignty. If the legislation violates the Israeli or the Palestinian government's sovereignty, then they will have veto power. We are demonstrating how a federal government will be able to thread the needle. In other words, to pass legislation that would be acceptable to both sides or that neither side will be able to reject. We are demonstrating that in the simulation today, and we are asking you to respect this simulation. This is not a lecture, and we are asking you to ask questions and to make comments in the chat. Nasir, who will be administrating the comments and the questions, and will be translating your comments into a question and will convey your questions and your comments to all of us during the simulation in order to clarify the issues that we are discussing. So we have a short video that explains what a federal government is based on our proposal. It's 2 minutes.
The conflict between Israelis and Palestinians has endured for generations. And instead of time healing the wounds, it's only caused the anger to fester and the violence to grow. But what if there was a way to alleviate the tension? Something that may not outright solve every problem, but at least create a forum that encourages a peaceful compromise. Welcome to the Israeli-Palestinian Confederation, a common third government between the Israeli and Palestinian citizens, specifically designed to foster peace, tolerance, and economic prosperity between the two nations. Here's how it works. First off, both Israel and Palestine will keep their respective governments. Israel's Knesset and the Palestinian National Authority will remain unchanged. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation, IPC, will be a third entity acting as a unifying agent between the two. The IPC will comprise 300 parliament members elected from 300 districts in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. Above them will preside a president and vice president, one Israeli and one Palestinian. In order for the IPC to pass a law, it will require a 55% majority from its Israeli representatives, as well as a 55% majority from its Palestinian representatives, thereby preventing either side from monopolizing the legislature. Of course, the IPC won't undermine the political power of either the Israeli or the Palestinian government. At any time, Israel or Palestine may veto a law passed by the IPC. If neither side vetoes, the law is passed. And the two nations are another step closer to resolution. Please help us make this a reality. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation. We might speak different languages, but we all mean the same thing.
So we are actually going to be simulating what we just saw on this video. Just like we do in every simulation in the last several months, we would like to conduct a survey, which we will compare before and after the simulation. Please vote now. Do you support a federal government for the people of Israel and Palestine? Okay, 5 more seconds to vote. Yes or no, do you support a federal government for the people of Israel and Palestine? Please publish the vote. 26 out of 28 of you who voted, that's 93%, voted yes, and 2 out of 28 voted no. That's 7%. Hopefully, we will be able to compare this survey to the survey that we will conduct at the end of the simulation. And I would be very interested in knowing whether we were able to change the minds of the people who just voted. There are more people in the simulation. I know some are not able to vote for some reason because you're using your phone or other computers that would not allow you to vote. I am aware of that. We are proposing a federal government confederation. And if you ask, is this a confederation or a federation? We define them in the same way, which is how it is defined in the Constitution, which is on our website, ipconfederation.org. This is the heart of the simulation. We are asking you, the audience, to make assumptions. We're also asking Omar Shaban to make those assumptions, and we will ask his opinions regarding those assumptions. The first assumption is that we were able to obtain major funding to create a year-long campaign to advertise the benefit of the federal government to the people of Israel and Palestine. This would require major funding, somewhere in the around $100 million. It will also allow us to create a platform for the people who want to run for parliament or president in 300 parliamentary districts in the area that includes Gaza, the West Bank, Jerusalem, and Israel. So the funding will also allow people to vote, and the election will take approximately 3 months for Palestinians and Israelis to vote for their parliament members and for president and vice president. The other assumption is that we gave 14 million people an opportunity to vote, that we will need to exclude children, but 14 million people with the exclusion of children will be able to vote in the area that includes Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. You will also have to assume in this simulation, we are acting as if all of this has happened in this simulation. You'll have to assume that 5 million people have voted, that 3 million Palestinians have voted, and 2 million Israelis have voted. You will have to assume that 1.5 million people voted for a president. For the purpose of the simulation, I am asking you to assume that me, Joseph, was elected as president, so that it's clear I never intend to run for president. I'm not qualified under the Constitution to run for president because I am not a resident of Israel or Palestine. I'm an Israeli citizen, but I am not a resident. And the election requires the voters and the candidates to be both citizens and resident of Israel and Palestine. But for purposes of this simulation, it makes it easier for me to act as if I was elected. You will also have to assume that 300 parliament members were elected in 300 districts. I will ask all of you to take part in this simulation by acting as either Israeli or Palestinian parliament members in the 300 district. So if you take part, you will have to assume that you have been elected in a district of 47,000 people. It doesn't mean that 47,000 people voted for you, but your district is 47,000 people. Your district is either Palestinian, in other words, your constituents are Palestinians or Israelis, or in many of the districts, your constituents are both Palestinians and Israelis, because Palestinians and Israelis do live together in many areas. So does anyone have any questions regarding these assumptions before I go to Omar Shaban? Do you have any questions that you need answered before you understand better the assumptions? Okay. Nasir, are there
No.
any questions?
No, we're good.
Okay, let's go to Omar. Omar, what are your comments or questions regarding these assumptions?
First of all, thank you very much, Joseph, and thank you to all of you who are with us on this session. I have been following you and participating in most of your simulation. I like it and I agree with most of it. Do you hear me?
Yes, you're
Yes?
good. Yes, you're good, Omar.
I think the idea is unique and the assumptions are very accurate and very relevant to the reality. And this proposal can be achieved easily. I don't want to go to the conclusion now, but I think this is the only way to solve the crisis that has been there for the past 100 years. The place is too small to be divided, and you cannot make peace between two countries without having them cooperate with each other. And we need to find a way where the two people work together, not only stop fighting. No, we need to move from stop fighting to cooperating, because I believe all the time, and I have touched this in several articles, Israel and the Palestinian, if they come together, they can make the Holy Land as a paradise. We have all the resources to be successful, and we have all the element to be one of the best area in the world. And as I said also all the time, then we don't need the support from America, from Europe. We have all the resources to be rich and to be part of the world civilization. I don't have any issue over this assumption. I think we need to go for it and to work on it. Thank you, Joseph. Yes.
Thank you, Omar. All right. So also, I already contacted Jeff Warner to act as Israeli Prime Minister. Jeff, can you say hello?
Hi, everybody.
All right, thank you. So that you know, Jeff is acting as Israeli Prime Minister. He is going to represent the Israeli Prime Minister's point of view. That's not his personal views. He is asked to act as if he is the Prime Minister of Israel. So don't be angry at Jeff during the simulation. We need a volunteer to be a president of Palestine. Do we have someone who is willing to be the volunteer to volunteer? Giacomo?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay, terrific. All right, now the rest of you, we will ask you to be either Israeli or Palestinian parliament member. And at this time, I would ask you to identify whether you are Palestinian parliament member or Israeli parliament member. And keep in mind that you will have to remain in that capacity throughout the simulation. And you will also have to be intellectually honest and decide what area you represent and who is your constituents. Are your constituents strictly Israelis, strictly Palestinians, or is your district both? And you may be asked during the simulation. All right, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds to make your selection, whether you are Palestinian parliament member or Israeli parliament member in this simulation. All right, 5 more seconds. Okay, publish the vote. We have 13 Palestinians and 9 Israeli. Okay, so you remain so, and you will be given an opportunity to vote. And the first order of business that you will be given is to ratify the Constitution. So this is a short version of the entire Constitution. The entire Constitution is on ipconfederation.org. Libby, will you be so kind as to read the Constitution?
We believe that Palestinians and Israelis are entitled to equal rights under the law and guaranteed human rights and freedom. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation does not intend to supersede or supplant the Palestinian or Israeli governments, nor to abrogate or undermine any agreements between those governments. We recognize the need to work with the Israeli and Palestinian governments. Our purpose is to resolve conflicts and to expand the relationship between Palestinians and Israelis in a fair and equitable manner. We believe in equal rights under the law, guaranteed human rights, and freedom for all. We voluntarily give the legislatures and the governments of Israel and Palestine veto power over legislation we pass relating to the domain of control of those governments. We believe in the separation of power between the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. We believe in the creation of a permanent secular government for all the people residing in Israel and Palestine. We believe in having a separate judicial branch relating to IPC legislation with Israeli and Palestinian judges, with a system to avoid biased decisions based on nationality.
All right, so under the Constitution, we do not intend to supersede or supplant any agreements or the governments of Israel or Palestine. If we do not intend to undermine them. We do not intend to undermine any agreements between them. If they decide to have two states, if they decide to have borders or to merge or to create one state, constitutionally, we are prohibited from undermining those agreements. We also, under the Constitution, agree to give them a veto power regarding legislation that violates their sovereignty. We will pass later legislation regarding that veto power. So, does anyone have any questions regarding the Constitution before I go to Omar and ask him to make comments regarding the Constitution? Any questions regarding the Constitution? Nasir, are there any questions?
No, there's none. There's no questions.
Okay. Let's go to Omar. Omar, do you have comments or questions regarding this Constitution?
This is a very ideal constitution, Joseph. I have nothing to do. I have nothing against it. I hope we can reach to this level of cooperation.
Thank you. So, you are the parliament member. We are a separate government from the Israeli government and the Palestinian government. We are independent of those governments. You, as a parliament members, were aware of this Constitution when you ran for parliament, and now you have been elected, and now you need to ratify the Constitution. So it is requested that you will ratify the Constitution. If you fail to ratify the Constitution, you will be expelled from the parliament, and the person who received the second number of votes in your district will be parliament member in your district. Let's have the Palestinian parliament members first. Please ratify the Constitution. Palestinian parliament members, please vote to ratify the Constitution. Seconds to vote. Please publish the vote. 14 out of 15 Palestinian parliament members ratify the Constitution. The one person who voted no is expelled from the parliament. You're still allowed to be a citizen of Israel or Palestine, and you still be able to vote in the election, but you are no longer a parliament member, and you cannot vote because you did not accept the Constitution. So you are not allowed to vote on further legislation. Let's go to the Israeli parliament members, please vote. Israeli parliament members. So that it's clear, this is a parliament for people who are willing to accept the constitution of the parliament, of the federal government. If you do not accept, then you have no business being in this government, and you should not be running for government, and you should not be part of the parliament. Just like in any other constitution in the world, the people who are chosen must swear allegiance to the Constitution, and the same for the Israeli-Palestinian federal government. Publish the vote, please. All Israeli parliament members vote, ratify the Constitution. So thank you. This is a momentous occasion in the history of the Middle East. It is a momentous occasion in the history of Israel, Palestine. The fact that we have an election, the fact that we elected parliament members, president and vice president, and the fact that we were able to ratify a constitution that separate religion from government, common to the people of Israel and Palestine together, is a momentous occasion that has never occurred in the history of the Middle East. And it undermines the existing government's use of fear and hate to justify their actions. It removes the collective stigma against Israelis and Palestinians that we are not able to live in peace with each other, that we are born to fight with each other forever. This constitution, the election, and the ratification of the Constitution removes that stigma. It provides me, the president, you, the parliament, and the entire area, huge political capital that we intend to use in order to benefit the people of Palestine and Israel together. It compels the governments of the world and organizations of the world to recognize us and to contribute to our success. It gives the Israeli and the Palestinian people new self-image that we are willing, able, and are working together to live in peace. And it provides the Israeli and the Palestinians it shows that the Israelis and the Palestinians are not a monolithic society, that we can think on our own, not as a group, but what's good for us, the people of Israel and Palestine. So this is a momentous occasion that we are going to capitalize on for many, many years to come. So I just want to remind you again that we have an IPC meetup group, and go to Nasir's link on the chat in order to join our group, and we will be able to have regular, continuous discussions about the IPC, even without the simulations. All right, this is our first order of business, granting a veto power to the separate Israeli and Palestinian governments. Libby, would you be so kind as to read this legislation?
The Confederation is the government of the entire population of Israel and Palestine from the river to the sea. We recognize the Palestinian and Israeli governments and are seeking their cooperation to implement our vision for peace by giving them a veto. We will do our utmost to satisfy the essential needs of each government. We are pleading with the Palestinian and Israeli public to understand that while we would like to pass the best legislation possible to improve their lives, under these constraints, a perfect legislation is not possible. We hereby bestow a veto power relating to legislation affecting sovereignty to the following: the government of Israel on issues in which it is indispensable, the Palestinian government on issues in which it is indispensable. In the event of changes in the entirety of the Israeli and Palestinian governments, This legislation may be amended or repealed subject to the IPC Constitution. The Parliament will decide on indispensability. Vetoes may be bestowed individually or collectively.
So we only give a veto power to the existing governments, whether it's the Israeli government or Palestinian governments, only on issues that they are indispensable. So what does it mean, indispensable? If we pass legislation regarding the use of land or police force or removal of the wall, then they are indispensable and they get a veto power. But for example, if we pass legislation regarding our budget, regarding ratifying the Constitution or appointing IPC ministers or judges, then they are dispensable and they do not get a veto power. Remember, we are in competition with the separate Israeli and Palestinian governments, and we only give them a veto power if it's absolutely necessary. If it's not necessary, they do not get a veto power. Why give them a veto power to begin with? Because a veto power provides a safety net to both sides. In other words, if their sovereignty is violated, then we give them a veto power in order to give them a safety net. It increases the likelihood of Israelis and Palestinians' participation, both in terms of voters and candidates. It decreases the Israeli and Palestinian government's opposition to the federal government, and it removes any claims that we are a subversive organization intended to undermine the Israeli or the Palestinian governments. And it gives legal protection to our candidates who are running and serving their districts, or the president and the vice president. And it compels the IPC to thread the needle, meaning to pass legislation that will be the least objectionable to the Israeli and the Palestinian government, and it creates a platform for negotiations with a deadline. Does anyone, before I go to Omar, does anyone have any questions regarding the veto power? We're going to vote on that. And by the way, the Israeli and the Palestinian governments do not have a veto power on this legislation. Nasir, are there any questions?
There's no questions here.
Okay. Omar, I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak after we vote. We need 55% of the Palestinian parliament members to approve this legislation. Could you please vote, Palestinian parliament members only? Please vote on this legislation. 5 more seconds to vote. Okay, publish the vote. 1 person voted no, 10 voted yes. We need 55%. We passed it by 91%. Let's go to the Israeli parliament members. Please vote, Israeli parliament members. Publish the votes. All the Israeli parliament members voted in favor of this legislation, 100%. So this legislation has passed. So let's go to Omar and ask for your comments or questions regarding this legislation of granting a veto power to the separate governments.
It must be given a veto power, because there will be time where there's some sort of contradiction or competition. So they have to have the veto power, but this veto power must be regulated and limited to a certain area. I have no opposition. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we passed the first important legislation, and now we are going into the next issue, which is a declaration of peace. Again, this does not require that we do not give a veto power to the Israeli or the Palestinian governments on this legislation. Charles, are you here? Be so kind as to read the Declaration of Peace.
Your mic cut off, Joseph. Did you say that again?
My mic is cut off?
It went off for a second for me. I don't.
Okay.
Who would you ask to read this?
Libby, would
Oh,
you?
go ahead.
Okay, sure. Declaration of Peace. Our goal is to be a shining example for peace and tolerance. We believe in the respect for all peoples, regardless of religion or gender. We are committed to protect all people of all religions and to value the sanctity of life. All people are equal. All religions are equal. The practice of religion is voluntary and shall not be imposed. The land belongs to no religion, and no war shall be imposed on the count of religion. We encourage all governments of the world to adopt this resolution. We hereby submit this declaration to the Israeli government, the Palestinian government, and ask that they will adopt the same.
Okay, so even though they have no veto power, we can make whatever declaration we want. We are a separate independent government. We're asking them to adopt this the same, and we will ask them, are you going to adopt this? Does anyone have any questions regarding this Declaration of Peace before we vote on it? Before we go to Omar and the audience, do you have any questions? Okay. Omar, do you have any comments regarding?
There is a question. It says,
Yes,
what
Go
is
ahead.
the
this is me.
What
I'm
is the
sorry.
question, Nasir?
Actually, it's me. My question is not a.
No, hold on, Mekki, there's another question before you go. There's a question that was Anna presented. Can you
Okay.
further explain what no war shall be imposed? I don't understand.
It says no war shall be imposed on the count of religion.
Yeah,
In
but
that-
no, but I'm just asking, Anna, can you clarify your question? Because you're saying, does this mean that outcomes of conflicts, etc., will not be regarded as all? I don't think that there's nothing that when you say no war shall be imposed that says that the means of outcome will not be regarded. I don't understand the question that she's posing.
Okay, but I think it's pretty clear. We do not want to use religion as a reason for war. And we are against the use of religion in order to start a war or to have a war. That's as simple as that.
Sure.
All right. Omar, do you have any comments or questions?
I have a question, or I have some concern. I do believe that the spirit of the declaration is clear. It's a declaration for peace and to stop using religion for war. That is okay. But the term or the verse, all religions are equal, I don't think it is correct. Unless it would be all religions are equal in the right to exist or to be practiced, or all religions followers are equal. But it is not a mandate of a parliament to decide for if religion to impose on religious followers that the religion are equal.
This is our declaration. We are not imposing this on the people themselves. We are saying, from our perspective as a parliament, we believe that all religions are equal. We're not going to give any priority to one religion over another. All religions are equal. We respect all religions.
Politically, I
If
guess.
you want to say we respect all religions are equal in the right to be respected, or all religions are respected, that is okay. But when you say equal, it's part of some religion followers in the books that they read, that the religion is unique and not equal to other religions. So you want to make a declaration that contradicts with holy books literally. But as a matter of respect, even in the holy books, you should respect people from other religion.
All right.
But this is my opinion, actually. I'm not
Okay.
by the way, I'm not a member of the parliament.
Oh, you are not.
Yeah.
You chose not to be a parliament member?
Yes.
Okay. Anna, do you have a question? Questions, not comments, questions.
Yes, I do have one. And good evening to everyone, and thank you for the invitation. My question is, in regards to the article I referred to before, no war shall be imposed. I do not understand the use of the verb impose. Who is going to impose a war? Do we mean any conflict, any insurgencies? And which basis would be justifiable to call it, first of all, a war? And who is going to impose it on whom?
Okay, I don't have an answer to your question. I think this stands by itself and it's self-explanatory. Shlomo,
No,
do
it
you?
is not, because we take as given that is going to be imposed a war. Wars crack out of conflicts, are not imposed by anyone. That's all
But
I'm
look,
saying.
look,
So what do you mean? Can you give a clarification?
you can question every word that appears on this declaration. You can say, what is shining? What is peace? What is tolerance? I mean,
No,
we
I
could
need some
go,
clarification, because I'm not a primary school child. I do know what peace is and war is, but wars are not being imposed unless your state is a satellite state of another country.
okay,
Then
look,
the war is imposed. That's all I mean.
yeah,
Imposed by
okay.
who?
All right, look,
Yeah.
I'm asking
And
for
my
questions.
sub-question on this, on this is, what about, you said religion, what about on basis of ethnicity, conflicts and wars? What about prior land rights of the people who lived on the Palestinian territory and the Israeli territory?
All right, let's have a vote. Palestinian parliament members, please vote on this declaration. Do you agree with this declaration? We need
Joseph,
55%.
let's complete the conversation. This is important. This is the first time I see this declaration, to be honest, and I don't see anything with war imposed. So I'm not sure what we are talking about here.
2, 3, 4. Look at line 6. Line 6 says the practice of religion is voluntary and shall not be imposed. I don't see the where did she see war?
Yeah, I don't see the word war.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying I didn't understand the question, because it didn't have anything to do with the legislation.
Okay,
That no war shall be imposed on the account of religion.
all right, and the polling, Palestinian parliament
Where did you
members
see that?
voted 80%. Let's go to the Israeli parliament members. Please vote on this.
Oh, I
Israeli
see. No
parliament.
war shall be imposed. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good question. It's a wording problem here.
Shlomo, are you an Israeli or Palestinian parliament member?
I am an Israeli
I see.
parliament
Okay.
member.
Did you
Yeah.
vote in favor of this legislation?
I did, but there is something with the wording that has to be improved. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and the polling, 90% of the Israeli parliament members. Look, declaration by nature are very, very general, okay? Most people, they read a declaration, they have a certain understanding. We can go forever and explain each and every word of the declaration and lose the total meaning of the declaration. There is
Joseph, there was a comment that Odile, she wrote, it might fix this. She says, instead of all religions are equal, all religions have an equal right to exist. I think that would kind of neutralize the situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have a similar comment, both on all people are equal, all religions are equal. Those statements are so general as to be obviously not true. People are not all equal, religions are not all equal. However, all people are equal in the sanctity of life. That's what we are asserting. And all religions are equal in the freedom of belief.
Yes, so if I think we'd solve that problem if we added that part.
Are what are necessary here, and I voted against this declaration because those two statements are unacceptable.
No, you passed it. There you go.
Yeah.
okay.
So all religions are equal. Oh, I'm sorry. All religions have an equal right to exist. You're on the wrong line.
You are in the people.
May I make a comment?
Just equal rights. That's all.
Okay, what about all people?
Have equal rights.
May I make a comment? All people are equal before the law, or something like that would be an acceptable wording.
Yeah.
To be more precise and not saying
all people
are
have equal rights by the law, or to
You don't need to say by the
before
law.
the law.
Or not necessarily, because
Yeah, laws can be discriminatory. Have an equal right to exist.
yes, it is singular, not plural. Yeah.
I think we understand the spirit of what this
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, the
It's
spirit
just
is
the
understood,
spirit
yeah.
there is just the wording.
Okay.
Now, one more correction about the war. She was right. We don't need this no war shall be imposed. We just all the land belongs to no religion, period. I mean, of course, everything else is implied.
What's wrong with no war shall be imposed on the count of religion?
Wars are not. What does it mean imposing a war? I mean, no war, no conflict should be. You know, it's done. Now you start to philosophize it. This is like the no war. Okay, and peace. Let's say the land belongs to no religion, and peace on this land. You know, so of course, if you want peace, then there is no.
But look, this is an area in which religion has been politicized, and you cannot ignore that. And we are trying to make a statement against the politicization of religion. And the politicization of religion has been used to impose wars on each other. So I think we have to touch upon that.
Who is imposing the war?
Well, mostly the Israeli, with creating a Jewish state, is the.
How about can we say that it could be religion and ideology? That no
Yes.
Look, we can go over this. We need to move on.
Yeah. Okay. Let's improve it later.
Actually, the many of the laws in Israel that discriminate against one religion or another. Don't do it in terms of ideology, but do it in terms of the ethnicity as represented by religion.
Okay.
All right, let's go to
For example, the settlement law says the Jews will have a right to settle everywhere, or only Jews have a right to settle anywhere. That's not saying anything about ideology, but it's treating it as an ethnicity.
That's
All
why,
right,
which is
Mr. Prime Minister, are you going to adopt this declaration?
The state of Israel is dedicated to peace and to the equality of all people. And I have to look at this very carefully in terms of our existing laws. But we will make every effort to do this because the state of Israel believes in peace and tolerance for all people.
Do you have any objection to any particular line as the Prime Minister of Israel? Do you object to any particular line in our declaration of peace that was overwhelmingly passed by our parliament?
No, I do not.
All right. Mr. President of Palestine, are you going to adopt this declaration?
I must say I cannot adopt it in this present form. There are too many. The language is very unfortunate, very ambiguous, and there are serious concerns. I would like a statement that, first of all, clarifies a lot of the concepts, but also adds one concept, and it is that the freedom of everybody to practice religion shall never be infringed, because this will. I have millions of my people who are devout to their religion, and I do not want to give the impression that any connection with Israel, any reform will impinge on their religious beliefs and their. I don't want to have the impression that there's going to be atheists coming in and subverting institutions and so on. So I think we need to go through this declaration in a way that reassures everybody that their rights are going to be respected.
What part of this declaration?
No, but he just said that millions of his constituents are Judeo-religious. If you're the Palestinian president, who are the millions?
Not Judeo. I just said millions of my constituents are religious. Now, Islamic, of course, but mostly, I imagine. But the issue is all the same. We do not want to create concern among the population that we are entering some agreement where religion becomes secondary and there's secularism in everything, and that we have to respect the concerns of even the most conservative elements of our society, because otherwise we do not manage to include them in our process. So it's good to make some radical declarations, but we have to also be grounded and be careful not to alienate people who will find this contrary to their beliefs and their feelings. So I would say if we can change almost every sentence of this declaration needs to be moderated and needs to be more crafted in a better way.
Okay, so are you familiar?
Is there any part of this declaration that you object to?
Okay, but does this coincide with or relate to the PLO charter that was established in the 1960s, which actually does specifically say that calls for the equality and secular and equal rights for Muslims, Christians, and Jews? So this does not contradict the PLO charter.
It doesn't contradict the PLO charter, but times are different now, and I think it's just a question of includes in some wording that reassures people that their religion will not be taken away from them.
All right, Omar, do you have any comments regarding the declaration of peace that was just passed by the parliament?
No.
All right. Okay. Now we are going to the important issue as far as I am concerned, and this is a three-part legislation, and Charles, are you here? Okay. We need, Libby, are you able to read the 3 parts?
Yes, I'll do my best.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. The IPC serves as the sole legitimate government of Israel and Palestine, comprising 300 parliamentary members elected by the entire population. Approximately 125 members represent areas in Gaza and Southern Israel that have been devastated. The IPC is dedicated to the welfare of all people, including the 5 million individuals directly affected by the violence since October 7th. The IPC believes the futures of people in Gaza and Israel are linked. It's unlikely that the Israeli and Palestinian governments can restore normal, peaceful conditions soon. The IPC also sees the unfortunate events of October 7, 2023, and the subsequent war between Israel and Hamas as a unique chance for lasting peace, prosperity, and security. The IPC believes peace in Israel and Palestine will significantly benefit the world, and resolving this conflict aligns with the interests of the global community. The IPC will continue to function as the federal government for the entire region of Israel and Palestine, and will hold exclusive authority over the Gaza Strip until a Palestinian government is elected. All legislative, executive, and judicial decisions regarding the Gaza Strip will be made by the IPC government in accordance with the IPC Constitution.
Go ahead.
All
Yeah,
right.
there's 3 pages.
Part 2. The IPC is seeking a $50 billion grant from the international community, including both Israel and Palestine, to fund and coordinate the reconstruction of devastated areas. The IPC will prioritize the following initiatives. 1, rebuilding thousands of homes, roads, hospitals, civic buildings, and infrastructure to enable the immediate return of all people to their homes. 2, restoring law, order, and civil society that have been disrupted. 3, establishing a joint economic zone, JEZ, between Israel and Gaza under the exclusive management and control of the IPC in collaboration with existing governments. This zone will focus on developing a local and common economy involving education, industry, banking, agriculture, sewage treatment, desalination plants, solar farms, wind power, and green energy. 4, constructing an international airport and seaport that will be equally accessible to both Israelis and Palestinians. And 5, establishing an IPC police force to manage the joint economic zone.
Okay, 1 more page.
Okay, this is part 3, the underlying conditions. For the people of Israel and Palestine to enjoy the benefits outlined in this plan, the following conditions must be met. All political prisoners must be released. Both Hamas and Israel must disarm from the Gaza Strip. Israel must withdraw from the Gaza Strip. Israel and Hamas must implement a ceasefire. The IPC will negotiate with the United Nations a significant presence in Gaza to assist in this day-to-day operations for as long as necessary. This legislation shall be implemented fully or incrementally based on needs, irrespective of geographic location, religion, or national identity. It is our hope and expectation that the Israeli and Palestinian government would cooperate in the planning and implementation of the reconstruction. The IPC will reciprocate by adhering to local cultural, religious, and engineering requirements.
So basically, we are capitalizing on our legitimacy, on the power that was given to us by the people of Israel and Palestine to create a federal government. And we are capitalizing by seeking a $50 billion grant from the entire world, including all governments of the world, major organizations, including the Israeli and the Palestinian governments, demanding that they will participate and contribute to the rebuilding. They are not giving a veto power because we have the power of the purse. We have the $50 billion, and we are asking them to cooperate with us, and we will be willing to cooperate with them. And if they refuse to cooperate, then we will do it on incremental basis based on our what we see as the correct geography, or whatever peaceful way we can implement the rebuilding of Gaza and Southern Israel. Does anyone have any questions regarding this legislation?
Did we change this to not because
Yes.
remember last time there was the issue that the Palestinians had, that handing over the Gaza basically to be run by the United Nations without a, because when you say something as long as necessary, that's very concerning to us, because this could be as an excuse to keep Gaza and control of Palestinian territories with an international organization or something for a too long specific of time, prolonging movement toward statehood and our own sovereignty.
Well, this is all subject to the Constitution. It's all subject to a vote. So if you feel that the United Nations has been there too long, you take it up to the parliament and we vote on that.
Yeah, but the parliament is giving sovereignty over a country, and I think that
No,
the fact
the parliament is not giving sovereignty over a country. We are the parliament of the entire area of Israel and Palestine. We are the sovereign area. We give veto power to the Israeli and the Palestinian government, but we are the only legitimate government in Israel and Palestine. What are your concerns?
Well, I just can't see Israel or the Palestinian government saying that we're going to give the United Nations significant presence in Gaza to assist in day-to-day operations. Day-to-day operations meaning what? Related to just these tasks, or
relating to day-to-day operation? And what do you mean you don't see? We have $50 billion. They don't have that kind of money.
Okay. I'll let Omar.
We have the power of the purse, and they don't have that kind of money. We can rebuild Gaza and Southern Israel. They're not going to be able to stand in our way without losing political power, political legitimacy within their own people.
Okay, go ahead, Omar. I'll let Omar go. Maybe he can.
Well, are there any other questions before?
No, but Omar has his hand up, so I want to let him.
Okay, Omar, go ahead.
Very interesting. Just not clear for me when you talk about Hamas, as if Hamas will continue. Yes, the ceasefire must be between Israel and Hamas, but Hamas, not only by the Israeli, but by Palestinian people, they have no future in Gaza. So ceasefire must be between Hamas and Israel because they are the fighting bodies. But when we talk about longer term peace and prosperity, we should mention that the Palestinian leadership or future Palestinian leadership, not only Hamas.
Well, it's up to the Palestinian people to decide who they want, but whoever, whether they want whatever government they want.
Yes,
We're not precluding the Palestinian people from We're not telling the Palestinian people who to vote for in the government. It's internally for the Palestinian people to decide what government they want.
Yes, this is what I meant. So we just add the would-be Palestinian leadership.
Okay, what specific line do you object to, or do you have question about? All political prisoners must be released. Is this acceptable to you?
Accepted, yes, yes, yes. All
Both
accepted,
Hamas and Israel must disarm from the Gaza Strip. Is that acceptable?
100%, yes,
Israel must withdraw from the Gaza Strip. Is that acceptable?
yes,
Israel and Hamas must implement a ceasefire. Is that acceptable?
yes.
Okay, now, in the previous page, we had the IPC will continue to function as the federal government for the entire region of Israel and Palestine and will hold exclusive authority over the Gaza Strip until a Palestinian government is elected.
Yes, this I saw that, but also it would be nice, or it would be needed to mention it in the second page. Yeah, go ahead.
Why is it necessary to put it twice?
Not twice, but to mention to make it clear that the Palestinian leaders, the future or the day after in Gaza, would be different to the current now.
We don't want to make it clear. The Palestinian government and the Israeli government are competitors. We don't want to control them. As far as we're concerned, they are the problem. They are not the solution. We are not here to tell them what government to elect and not elect. As far as we are concerned, it'd be better if they were both gone. So we don't want to tell them what kind of government to elect.
Okay.
Any other questions? Alan, what's your question?
Well, my question is that the situation in Gaza requires these part 3 underlying conditions to be implemented now or soon, before there is either our confederation or a alternative Palestinian government. And there is a...
What's your question?
That this is an unrealistic view because the changes are necessary in Gaza now before this, our assumption.
By whom? By whom? Who is going to implement those changes?
The current incapacitated situation is going to work itself out.
Alan, I agree with you that changes need to be done immediately. The question to you is, and I understand you're saying, well, what are you going to do for now? Okay.
Yes.
All right. We don't have the power to do anything now. We only have the power to do it once we are elected. Okay.
And once you have a soon $50 billion. So there is a graduation of this process that has to proceed from now before these assumptions are actually realized. That's my frustration, and I apologize.
Well, I share your frustration. I have the exact same frustration. Okay.
Okay, that's why I'm here.
All right. Any other, Alan, any other questions regarding this legislation? Anna, you have questions?
Thank you, yes.
Questions, please.
Question. Israel must withdraw from the Gaza Strip. What do you mean by Israel? Is it the army only or some settlers there?
Well, it's right now, I don't think there
There
are
is no
any
settlers. There's
in
no
the
settlers in the
Strip.
Gaza Strip right now.
Yes,
So
that will be very, very soon, either in the form of companies, in the form of multinational interests, or civilians. So what do you mean Israel must withdraw?
At this time, we mean the Israeli military. If there
Thank you.
are settlers, then that would be part of the IPC to deal with that.
Fantastic. Thank you. You answered the question fully. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, now let's go to the Israeli Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, are you going to stand in our way to implement this legislation?
This the government of Israel indeed wants peace, prosperity, and security for all people. But this legislation is very difficult. It says the IP the day after, who will be in charge of the Gaza Strip while if and when the Israeli government withdraws. This legislation calls on the IPC to be in charge of the Strip until a Palestinian government is elected.
Correct.
Both those parts are disturbing to us. We don't trust the IPC to be in charge of Gaza to protect our security. Our security was violated.
So are you going to stand in our way to implement this legislation? And do you understand that if you do stand in our way, we will use the funding that we have of $50 billion to use it in a way that will not benefit your constituents?
Yes, if it's a balancing our security against getting some of the $50 billion to rebuild Israel, we will choose our security. We will give up any of the $50 billion funding, because the security of Israel, we cannot trust the Palestinian government, nor can we trust the IPC to take care of our security.
Well, why are you not trusting the IPC? We have Palestinians and Israelis in the police force. We're bringing the United Nations. What is it not to trust?
It all sounds good on paper, but until it shows us there's some demonstration that this can actually work, we cannot trust our security to that.
Okay, so you intend to stay in the Gaza Strip until your next election?
Yes, and until there is a verifiable group that will protect our security.
All right, we believe we are a verifiable group, and we are going to withhold any funding to your constituents, to the areas of Israel, until you are removed from power. And I can tell you, as the president, I will work to demonstrate to the people of Israel that there are funding available to them to come back to their home and to make peace, and that you are standing in the way. And we will wait until there is a different government in Israel to work with them, and at that time to be able to spend the money to benefit your people. But you're basically wasting about a year or two for their benefit.
But I'm protecting their security.
You're not. You're just saying that the Palestinian, we'll talk with, we are able to maintain the security. You're not. You're actually increasing their insecurity. But is there any chance that you will be willing to work with us now if we make any changes to the Constitution, to the legislation?
There have to be big changes.
Like what?
The bullet points on part 3, the second, third, and fourth bullet point all are calling for us to give our security to give up protecting our security ourselves to what we feel is an untested group, namely the IPC. And so we just can't accept that.
All right. What about
And
the-
on part two, there were statements that went by too fast for me to really evaluate, which I think I don't agree with either, but
Okay, let's go to the Palestinian president. Mr. President, are you going to stand in our way to implement this legislation?
This text is very problematic. There's it is the wrong path towards finding a solution. However, there are very strong indications that it could be the platform for a better negotiation. So I would veto it, but
You don't have a right to veto it. You don't have a veto power here. The only thing you have is standing in our way. Are you going to actively stand in our way? You are not given a veto power. We have the money.
Yeah, I will put very strong conditions, but I want to extend a negotiation between us, the IPC, and the Israeli government to form favorable conditions for this vision to be created in a way that involves the Palestinian Authority, the Israeli government, so that it can feel reassured, but also have the IPC as a crucial role as a peacemaker, as a deal maker, and as an interface with the international community. And one crucial element that is missing in this paper is attracting foreign investment, because it is fine to get grants and billions and so on. First of all, it's difficult to get them unless we create a credible framework where the international community believes truly that progress can be made. The only way is for Palestine, Israel to work together. And IPC can play a crucial role in this, but not by issuing edicts and conditions. And there's a lot of unfortunate wording here. One thing would need to be done is make much more general wording, not mention Hamas and Israel, but say all armed factions must disarm, all Israeli troops or IDF must withdraw. Be specific, but also eliminates reference to countries, ethnic groups, people, because those are things that create hostility and create question marks about what will happen. So we need to create a favorable, positive climate. And I really extend my hand to the Israeli Prime Minister. I hope that they will see the reason behind this.
Well,
as Israeli Prime Minister, I accept your hand. I think that the suggestions of the Palestinian president are very good, that we should focus on using this as a basis to negotiate what will between the IPC and the Palestinian government and the Israeli government, so that we can figure out a path that will guarantee this peace, prosperity, and security for all.
And so I would ask the president of the IPC if he would play that role of facilitating a deal, and also encouraging and representing the Gaza Strip, and the whole economic region to the international community, reassure investors from Europe, India, China, America to come and invest, and give them the reasons why they should be putting money in this region.
All right, let me address both the president and the prime minister. First of all, none of you are legitimate government in Israel in the Gaza Strip. You are not elected by the Palestinian people. You have not been elected by the Palestinian people for years, and you are not a legitimate government in the Gaza Strip. Second, we are not going to negotiate our power away. We were able to obtain what you have not been able to obtain. You have been able to create death and destruction in the area of Israel and Palestine. And we're not going to sit with you and discuss as if you are legitimate in that area and as if we have the equal power. We do not have equal power. We have a lot more power financially, economically, and morally than both of you put together. So we are putting these conditions for a reason, because our intention is the people of Palestine, Gaza, and Israel. The only thing that you can do is stand in our way. And if you intend to do so, we will call you out. We will call you out. So we are asking you to change your mind very quickly and unconditionally announce your support for this plan and give us your blessing. All right, I think that we pretty much exhausted. The purpose of this simulation is to demonstrate how the IPC will have its own power and how it will be able to work in the area if it achieve its own legitimacy and be able to spend its political capital that it obtained and will be able to force the Palestinian and the Israeli governments to accept reasonable legislation for peace. So the purpose is not to convince right now or to embarrass the Israeli or the Palestinian government. So let's go on with a post-simulation survey. After participating in the simulation, do you support a common federal government for the people of Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza? Let's see. Please vote. Okay, 10 more seconds to vote. All right. 22 out of 23, 96% voted yes. One person voted no. Could that person please identify yourself?
It's again me. It's again me.
Okay.
First I said yes. I was the one who said yes. But now, after hearing Giacomo and Jeff, and I thought they're very extraordinary presidents because they talk very logical. And they have so
What area
good
do you represent?
Israel. I'm
What
indeed in
area
Israel.
in Israel do you represent?
Okay, Tel Aviv.
Okay. You represent Tel Aviv, and you understand that you have been in war for over a year, that we will not be able to spend any money until the prime minister or your prime minister will agree to our plan. That you understand that?
Yeah, sure.
And it's okay. It's
Sure.
okay with you. It's okay with you. It's acceptable. It's acceptable to you.
It's very acceptable to me.
Okay, so you understand that should he not accept this, the Israeli prisoners will not be released, because he does not. He has an opportunity to release the Israeli prisoners, and they will not be released because he does not accept our plan for peace. That's acceptable to you.
First of all, there are so many arguments, not only that one. And
I understand, but this is the one we presented legislation. We presented specific legislation. We gave your prime minister an opportunity to release the prisoners, to release the hostages, and it's
To
okay with
make a
you.
ceasefire, to make a ceasefire, and
And
I'm
to
not
make a
for.
ceasefire, and all of that is
Yeah.
acceptable to you. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
hate me.
No, no, I think it plays well into the reality. So
Yeah.
common democratic government is, we'll go into open discussion with Omar in a second. I believe that a common democratic confederation government can bring peace. We can have online election, just like we said in the assumptions. We can have 3 million, Israel and is spending, and the Palestinians are spending over $3 billion a week. And we can spend a minute amount of that to create peace and to create a federal government, especially when this federal government is necessary because of the failure of the Israeli and the Palestinian governments to give peace and prosperity to their people. And a democracy is the only way to make peace. So just before we go to open discussion, I want to remind you to join the IPC meetup group. I think that Nasir put the link on the chat, and I'm hoping to see as many of you in our group so we can have further discussions regardless of whether the simulation is going on. So I'm going to open up, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to open up the discussion, and let's have questions directed to Omar or to anyone else in order to have the discussion. Does anyone have, Libby, you have a question?
Just a quick question. When are the meetups?
The meetups right now are online. So we just set it up for discussion and stuff, and we haven't had any plans right now to do like specific times or things like that.
So how do people find out the specific time and the
So
location?
when you're a member, when you become a member, you'll get notifications of events.
Got it.
Nasir, do you want to take it over, the discussion?
Yes. Can you give me 1 minute and I'll be right back?
Okay, sure. Let's go to Shlomo. Shlomo, what are your comments or questions to Omar?
Omar, I'm wondering about so many things. First of all, there is ongoing genocide in Gaza. I don't know what will be left there in a few months, I tell you the truth. So what we are trying to do here is a dream. Hopefully not a pie in the sky, but something close to it. And my question to him is, many Israelis are very worried about the only solution that seems to be practical now is one state, because the two-state solution is dead. And the one state means a Palestinian state eventually, because the one state will have majority of Palestinians. And the Israelis that I talk to are very worried for a good reason. If I were a Palestinian, I would not want to live with them. I don't see, I mean, the devastation and the hatred is so deep that I don't see how to reconcile it. And I wonder if you have a better idea than I have, because I don't have actually an idea, how to resolve it in the long run.
Omar.
Thank you, Shlomo, and I cannot agree more. What's going on, it's beyond description. And I'm in contact with my family, with my sister, with my brother there. And I left Gaza on the 9th of October. I was lucky to leave there, but I lost many of my family members, like many others. And all the time I think about these questions. I am specialized in reconstruction, political economy. I've been to the US, and I'm invited to speak with key officials in America and in Europe. And all the time we ask about ourselves what will be the day after. There are I will make myself short. One of the consequences of this war that the Palestinian fed up with all Palestinian political system, the traditional classical political system. And Palestinian believe that, of course, Hamas has failed entirely and Palestinian Authority has failed as well. We are to be blamed a little bit, but Israel has not allowed Palestinian Authority to grow and to do election. One of the other consequences of this war is that it kills not the people, but it kills the belief in peace. When you kill 50,000 Palestinian children and destroy 80% of the Gaza population and pushing people to starvation and using food as a weapon, you kill people, you kill the desire and the attitude of among peace for people toward peace. So we need to work very hard. I don't think that we need to talk about peace in the coming 10 years. We need to invest a lot and we need to have a stability. I have some sort of plan. I develop and I write article. You can Google a lot about it. And because I'm independent, I spoke with everybody, or even in Doha or Istanbul or in Gaza or in America. So first of all, the war must stop. Second, we need to talk about 2 to 3 years of Gaza reconstruction, bringing people back to their life, and to create a new narrative. And Palestinians become more pragmatic. Yes, of course, they are very, very angry about what happened for them, because Netanyahu was using Hamas as excuse. What has been happening is not against Hamas. It's very funny. And you know, is Netanyahu gave Hamas $2 billion in the 5 years, $2 billion, $2 billion through 2018. And they were coming to Gaza by cash. The Israeli soldiers were carrying the cash from areas into Gaza. We wrote about it. We spoke about it. We were in the middle of between Israel, Netanyahu, and Hamas. And Iran was injecting another 30 million from the other direction. So Iran and Israel were working for the same objective, is maintaining Hamas in power. Now we are paying the price. So, and Hamas knows that. People, I'm supposed to speak in English in half an hour to comment on the ceasefire negotiation in Doha. It seems that there have some positive news about reaching the deal. One of the main drivers for Hamas to reach the deal is the pressure of the people. There was a protest in the people in Gaza about it. So, two-state solution, one-state solution. If you ask many Palestinians, the Palestinians want to live with Israelis, with peace. We cannot judge the future in the assumption of the current, my friend. We need to talk about peace. We need to talk about development, about pollution, about the Mediterranean, about the Gaza. Gaza is supposed to be one of the most rich area in the world. The reality of Gaza is totally different to what you have seen in the media. You can go. I wrote an article in November last year in the New Republican about what Gaza was and what Gaza can be. So there is a hope. There is a hope, but we should not allow the crazy people in our side and Israeli side to kill the future. Thank you.
I agree. I have a quick question. Because, I'm sorry to take time, but one of my friends wrote to me, said, Israel gave Hamas billions of dollars, and all they did is building an army to come and fight us and destroy us. What should I answer him with this money? So he said they could build, Gaza and make it Singapore and blah blah blah. So how would you answer this?
You can answer yes, and you ask Netanyahu why he did that. I told you, Netanyahu gave Hamas, not him, Qatari money through Tel Aviv airport to Gaza, $30 million since 2018 every month. And Hamas as a party, I'm Palestinian, I was in Gaza, I spoke with everybody, I'm not scared. Hamas did not build one school. So who was empowering Hamas? Not me, it's Netanyahu. And when he was asked in the election campaign, when he was competing with Labid, he said, I gave Hamas the money because I want to keep the Palestinians divided. He made it clear.
But what did Hamas did with it? Only build an army or also build Gaza?
No, the tunnels only.
So it's Hamas fault
No, it's Israel's fault.
because
Because Israel bought the silence of Hamas by 30 million.
So Netanyahu bought Hamas.
Yes, there
say.
are articles. If you call,
Nobody else. But Hamas or the people, they could not be resistant and say, okay, we want to have some schools. We want to have, they have hospitals.
well, UNRWA.
If you go to the Times of Israel, which is Israeli right-wing magazine, you will find article about it. And if you Google BBC, you will find a lot of article. And Israel knows that. Israel knows that. Yes, Carola, people in Gaza were protesting against Hamas all the time. But
when you do, yeah, when you do now elections, maybe the Fatah would.
They will get 2%. I can share with you some surveys. No, people will not vote for Fatah, not for Hamas. People will vote for a new leadership. As I said to you, they want practical people. This is what I was talking to the US, to the White House when I was there. Stop the war, give the Palestinian right to go election, and they will elect a leadership that they can build better future.
Yeah, but the thing is, there was an election.
Can we, Ricardo, we're gonna go in order because we have people raising their hands, if you don't mind.
Okay. Excuse me.
Sure.
Slicha.
So, no problem. I wanted to thank Omar. Thank you so much for joining today. I think I agree with you on almost everything that you say. There was an interview with Joe Scarborough, who was a host of a popular morning show that even Joe Biden, I think they said, is one of his shows called Morning Joe or something like that. Or
Yeah.
And even 3 months before October 7th, there was a delivery of cash to Hamas. One of these deliveries that you're talking about of cash through suitcases and stuff, and we know this. And we can say that Hamas is definitely to blame for a lot of what happened in Gaza. But again, it was enabled by Israel because because they allowed themselves to be a proxy for Iran, a proxy for Israel. Like if you look, how many hospitals in Gaza were built by Iran? I don't think not one hospital, not one school. That's why you have places called the Indonesian hospital. The other hospitals named after people who've contributed to help Palestinians in healthcare and education and things like that. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is that I want to discuss with you the mindset. I'm Palestinian from Jerusalem area, and I have a very frustrating time with mindsets of people because in Israel yesterday and the day before there was protests that were very anti-government, and I think that you have to look at these protests because these protesters are motivated by we want the hostages released. We want a deal that brings the hostages home. It's not necessarily anti-war. I think that if there was no hostages in Gaza, that there would be no protest. I don't think they have a problem with, most Israelis do not have a problem with the death and destructions in Gaza. The issue is hostages for them. And now in the West Bank right now, we have the Palestinian Authority that's going in Jenin and going after armed militants and using it as an excuse for stability. Now, we know that this was a commitment made by President Mahmoud Abbas to prove to Trump that we are responsible governors and we will work in this. But at the same time, there's logic, and I'm saying something very unpopular in Palestine, that there's logic because if we let these militants do what they want to do, Smotrich will be happy, Ben Gvir will be happy, and the West Bank, especially the Jenin area, Nablus area, Tulkarm area, will be turned into Gaza. It will unleash the Israeli army to come to do to the West Bank. And these factions, some of them who are armed by Iran and financed by Iran and foreign interests, they are literally going to bring hell on earth because we Palestinians right now don't have allies. So it's a very, like, in a way, the PA everyone can complain the PA is corrupt, it does this, it does that, but it is the PA that is maintaining the stability that is making the West Bank not turn into Gaza. Can you comment on that?
I can comment.
Wait, did we lose him? Where'd he go?
Oh, where is he?
I think he lost his connection earlier, so maybe he might come back.
Maybe the Mossad decided to.
I would like to respond to what Libby said. Libby asked, where do we meet? And I think that it's important to respond to that. Libby, we are planning to have chapters of the IPC meetup on meetup, and so different people will head the chapters in different cities. So we will have a chapter in Palo Alto, in San Francisco, and many cities throughout the United States, and hopefully throughout the world.
Oh, he's going to be back.
What?
I think he's going to come back. He's in the waiting room. I'm going to invite him again. He must have lost his connection. I think it happened to him earlier.
So each chapter will be conducting its own meetings, whether they want to do it by Zoom or by in person.
I would also add that the meets can, be as the membership grow and stuff, it can kind of grow into what we want it to grow, to be honest with you. Whether it's, monthly meetings, monthly, I don't know, get-togethers, events, and things like that. Oh, it says that he's joining, but it looks like his connection is slow, so it might be a while.
Okay, Shlomo, I have a huge issue with you.
Oh.
You said the IPC is a good idea, but it's a pie in the sky. And then you said the only realistic idea is one state.
Yeah, but it doesn't contradict. The IPC is open to any solution that has peace in it. And that's
but it's not a pie in the sky, and because the difference between creating the IPC and now is just a large sum of money. That's all.
Right. No, okay. I take my words back. I like the IPC. I like the IPC so much that but again, it's an ideal, and as Omar said, and I agree with him, and so there is nothing else. What the other game in town? There isn't any. So of course, IPC is
all right.
But I would like. Okay, he's Omar is back. Okay, so I let him answer.
Yeah, Omar, did you hear the last part? I think I was speaking while you got this. Is he here? Oh, there he goes. Did you hear the last part of my comment?
I hear the first one. I hear the first half of it, but not the rest.
So what I said, I'll say it like as fast as possible. But so my first part was about the Israeli mindset that even the ones that you're seeing protest in the streets against the war, they're doing it because of the hostages. I think if it wasn't hostages, then they don't really have an issue. Most of them would not have an issue with what's going on in Gaza with the war and the killing, because they think that, October 7th is unforgivable and we have to do whatever it takes, etc. The other part is in the Palestinian side, where, I'm from the I'm from the Jerusalem area, so I belong to the West Bank tribe, or whatever you want to call it. And so what we have now is a situation in Jenin where the Palestinian Authority is going after the armed militants in Jenin. Now, we know that this was a commitment by President Abbas to show Trump that, hey, we're a responsible government. We will do what's necessary to maintain order. But at the same time, the reason is somewhat significant and important, because the Palestinian Authority is the agency that is making sure that Jenin, what happens in Jenin right now, doesn't turn into Gaza, doesn't bring a war of genocide upon the people of the West Bank.
Nasir, what's your question?
So my question is can you comment on that from your perspective? Because all we hear is the Palestinian is
Let's make
corrupt
it short.
and etc. Go ahead.
Let's make it short. I am 60 years old. I am born in Gaza. I know the story. We have to be blamed for not building a democratic state and for not making a development. But actually, the Israeli did not allow the Palestinian to do so. When we talk to American administration, why you don't put the pressure on President Abbas to make election? Because the last election was in January 2005. All the time, President Abbas alert the American, if I do election, Hamas will come. No, this is not true at all. In May 21, the last election was supposed to happen. The poll said Hamas will get 15% in Gaza because after 17 years, Hamas has failed to deliver anything. I was a candidate in the election, the Palestinian election, 1996, when I was 32 years old. I want to be part of building my country, to build a Palestinian state. I know how Palestinian can be in terms of human resources, human capital. We have Palestine everywhere. We can do a lot of good things. We are educated. We are one of the most educated people in the world. We have 7 million outside. We have 7 million inside. There is a group, I will make myself short. There is a group in Israel who continue to believe that the more corrupted Palestinian is the better for us, for them. And the more the Palestinian economy becomes captive to us is better to us. I can mention here Shimon Peres when he said we should make our poor rich. We should not make them poor. Shimon Peres was a leader who has a vision, that he realized that the GDP per capita in Israel is $39,000. The GDP in Palestine was $3,000. In Gaza, $700. 1 to 50. You cannot have balance between two nations when the GDP has so huge between the two. And we have a plan. So the Palestinians did not do, but the Palestinians did not do their job, but they were not allowed to do their job. Why the Americans did not put the pressure on Abbas to make election in the past 17 years? And if I asked this question is why we should give Abbas 2 years to rehabilitate and to reform. They are doing very bad job. They are very bad job, and there's a lot of corruption, no institution, no parliament, nothing there, no civil society. And the American and European continue to give them money. Who can hold Abbas accountable, my friend? Only the American and the European. So the Israeli have short vision. They created Hamas in 2007. They allowed them to win the election. They empowered them by $2 billion in the late 5 years. Why? Because they want to keep the Palestinian divided. So the Israeli win at the technical level, which keeping the Palestinian divide, but they lose at the strategic level. Yes, the 7th of October attack, which was against by many Palestinians, we were shocked by it, and now we are punished by it. How come?
But how can you reconcile?
How Israel allow this attacks to happen?
But how can you? And this is what I'm saying. My point is how can you reconcile that the Palestinian Authority? But the Palestinian Authority is going after militants in the West Bank.
Nasir, let have other people ask questions.
No, that's the final part is that there is nothing being done, almost very little being done against settlers and soldiers who are rampaging in the West Bank while we're asking the Palestinian authorities to go and kill militants who are threatening peace. Why are this? And what I'm trying to say is this mindset has to come to a reconciliation between both sides. And how do we proceed if this doesn't happen?
Why this happening in Jenin and Tulkarem? Because Palestinians in these areas are neglected and marginalized. They don't have water. They are punished. The same security approach. How many times Abbas visit this area? 0. Why they don't talk to each other? Why they don't have election? There is no election in 2000 since 2005, not only in Gaza, even the West Bank. As the president, my president Abbas, he's 88 years old.
Okay.
So we need to go for the roots of the problem, not the symptom of the problem. What happened in Jenin, what happened in Gaza could happen in Jenin, and what happened in Gaza can be avoidable if the Palestinian Authority did the great work.
Okay.
So
Thank
the
you.
solution is there. But we need to have the willingness to do it. Now, Palestine, my friend, is a small country and is influenced by the regional power. American, Saudi, the Egyptian, they are playing in our kitchen, and especially the American. Why we have a deal now in the ceasefire? Because Trump want to reach to a deal. But why Biden left Netanyahu for 15 months, killing the Palestinian, killing the children, killing 50,000 Palestinians? You know what, Nasser? Hamas is part of my people. The head of Hamas police in Gaza was killed 2 days ago only. The head of the police was killed only 2 days ago. So he was there all the time. Of course, I'm against killing anybody. But if you killed 50,000 Palestinians and you leave this man who's the head of the police,
yeah,
and his deputy was from the preventive security. So the narrative of the Israeli narrative to you is totally different to the reality.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Samir.
I can't tell you
Hi,
more.
everybody.
I'm with you to report.
Hi, Nasir. Hi, everybody. Hi, Omar. Thank you. I don't have a question, but I have a message, actually. My message is to the Israeli left and to the Peace Now camp in Israel. Since the reality we have, it is one apartheid state. And also, we have a far-right government right now who intends to annex the West Bank and Gaza Strip with the blessing of Trump. That's what they are going to do. That's the right in Israel. So my message to the Israeli left and to the Peace Now camp, okay, the right in Israel, they have a plan. And you're supposed to have a plan too. So since the right, they want to annex the West Bank and Gaza Strip. My message to the Israeli left to say, yes, annex the West Bank and Gaza Strip with its Palestinian population and make them equal citizens of the state and end the conflict. That if they want to really have peace, quick and good, forever. Recognize the Palestinians, they are equal citizens, end of story. You want to annex? Fine. That's what you want to annex. You annex it with the people, not without the people. You want to end the story, end of the conflict. That's what you're supposed to do. And you have the experience in doing it. I mean, to say that, oh, we need a different model or a different... No, they have their own model. Israel itself has its own model.
So
They
Omar,
occupied Palestine.
let's ask Omar the question. Omar, do you...
Yeah, okay. No, just let me finish that. The question is that the Israelis today, they don't need any other model. They have their own model. They practiced it, and it was successful since 1966 until today. For the last 58 years, they have their proper Israel, what they call proper Israel. This is one state democracy where Palestinian and Israeli live together, equal rights, and they vote and they are equal. So now what they need to do, annex the West Bank and Gaza Strip and just make it like, just copy what you did in 1966. And that will be the end of the story. Now, the Israelis are saying that they are fearful of the Palestinian. That is not true, because in reality, 7 million Jews, Israeli Jews, are living in Palestine and 7 million Palestinians. So it will be 50-50. So in reality, when they vote for a parliament, it will be 50-50. So in a way, that's fine. It will work fine.
Okay, let's
and they don't
summarize.
need to fear.
Let's sum it up, Samir. Come on.
Already. And then the final thing that for my message is to the Palestinians. They don't need to fear the Jewish state, that Israel is a Jewish state, because it is actually meaningless. Because in reality, 20% of Israel proper are Palestinians,
Okay.
Christians and Muslims. And in reality also, the vast majority of Israeli Jews are not religious. So that Jewish state is meaningless. And it came out, it was signed in the law in 2019, and it can be voted out and canceled in the future. So there is no fear of the Jewish state, and we can take it from there. That's
Okay.
my
Go
message
ahead.
to everybody. Thank you
Go ahead,
very much.
Omar.
Omar, do you see the possibility of creating a one state if Israel annexes the Palestinians in totality?
The Israeli themselves, they are working against their own benefit. If they make annexation of the West Bank, then they kill the two-state solution, and they go themselves to the one-state solution. The Israeli strategy in West Bank is like somebody who eating the pizza and they want to keep it in the same time. They don't have a plan to end the conflict. Second, the American should advise Israel. This is what I keep telling the American and the German. You smile, Carolina, I hope you take my serious. Because they want to take the land. They put the pressure on Israel, in Palestine. They put siege in Gaza. They did not allow young people to go out. There is no work. There is no home. There is no possibility. And they expect us to be nice. This abnormal situation. The Palestinian, the West Bank, they cannot move. You need to understand that the Palestinian from Nablus to come to Ramallah, he or she needed 3 hours. I was able to go to Israel and Palestine because I was old enough. And sometimes I was stopped at the border. But 62% of the Gazan are under 30 years old. 62, Joseph. 2/3 of these people have never been outside. They never been outside. They don't know what does mean the American look like. We used to have an airport. They destroy it. We used to have a seaport. They prevent us to do it. So they want to do, Israeli did all the bad things and they were expecting good things. This is not logic at all. What I advise the American, what I ask the American, please be nice with Israeli. Ask them to be nice. This government in Israel, Smotrich and Ben Gvir, these are criminal. They should be in the court. How you expect them to be democratic? They're not democratic. You as an American, can you accept the Smotrich to be minister in the Biden administration? No. He running Israel as crazy against everybody. And I said with Nasir, yes, if there will be election, if there is no hostage in Gaza, the Israeli will not go because the 7th of October made the Israeli hate all of us as if we were responsible for the 7th of October. You need to have a smart sanction. Why I need to be blamed? Why my 2 nephews were killed, 18 years old and 9 years old were killed? Why my house, my family house, 6th floor, was destroyed entirely? Why my brother, 40 years old, was killed and he's married, he has 4 children? Why? He was not part of the 7th of October attack. So we need to think out of the box and to look. The solution is ready and easy. The West must. We don't want them to fight Israel, and we don't want to be a pro-Palestinian. No, I want you to be pro-just and fair. Just and fair. We can do a lot of things. And if you ask an Israeli, I will close this. If you ask an Israeli elderly people, 60 and above, they will tell you how nice they were living with the Palestinian Israelis. Don't ask the new generation, because the new generation don't know us. Like the new generation in Israel and Palestine, they don't know the Israelis. I was interviewed by the Israeli TV after the 2014 war. And I told him, Joseph, when you don't know people, it's easy for you to kill because you don't know him. But
Right.
when you know people, you share memories, you have benefit, it will be difficult for you to kill. So the Israeli new generation, they were killing Palestinians, throw bomb here and there because they have never been to Gaza. They didn't work with Gaza. They never had cup of tea with Gaza like what I did. I have some Israeli friends in Israel and outside of Israel. And the Palestinian national, I want Palestinian state. I used to travel from Tel Aviv airport. Why? Why we need to bring this nice stories?
All right, go ahead, Lillian.
Oh, I want to thank Omar very, very much about what he's saying. It's true when you don't know people, it's easy to hate them. But I wanted to say that I'm from Canada, and a lot of people here who have family in Gaza are very, very, very angry, very upset. One told me she couldn't get out of bed for 3 days crying. She didn't want to eat. Her family is there. And how can we make one state when there is so much anger and so much hate? I think we need to get people from both sides together and have a psychotherapist work with them. Otherwise, it's not going to work. The anger and grief is just baffle your mind how different groups think of each other. And that's why I think in order to have peace and to have one state solution, we need psychotherapists to work with a group of Palestinians and Israelis to work with them together. I went to a synagogue and introduced myself to the group. Some smiled at me and some frowned when I said I'm Palestinian. Anyhow, it's a difficult situation right now for all Palestinians and for all Jewish people living outside of Israel because they are facing the same thing, anger from different Palestinian groups. But the Palestinians in Canada also are grieving. I just want to say we need the psychological help in order for us to live together in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Omar, I don't know if you have it wasn't really a question, but thank you for your comments, Lillian. Actually, Lillian's, if I can turn your comments into a question, if you don't mind real quick. Some people, like what Samir was saying earlier about let's jump into a one-state solution, everybody's equal, where people like me do support the two-state solution as a way to deal with the situation now. Because psychologically, I think Lillian is right. To throw everybody into a one-state reality right now might be a disaster, but a two-state solution that allows a period of time for people to trade, to exchange, to live places and stuff may be a way to approach rather than just jump into a one-state solution that's going to throw everybody in together.
I agree. You know, some people here are renting homes. They don't buy because they are waiting when they can go to Palestine.
Yeah. What do you think, Omar?
Look, I have thought about it, and I'm asking this question many times. I don't think we need to focus about the terminology two-state one.
Oh, his internet again.
One state. We could have to go about that, like we can copy the EU. We could have one space, one place is Israel-Palestine land, but we could have Palestinian political system and Israeli political system. But the access, they have freedom of movement, the freedom where they can live. Like the German can live in Paris and the Parisian can live in Berlin, but still they vote for the Bundestag and for the General Assembly in Paris. So the Palestinian in West Bank and in Gaza, they can live in Haifa. They can vote for the municipality of Haifa, but they vote for the Palestinian parliament. And the Israeli can move to live in Gaza, and they can vote for the Gaza municipality, but for the Knesset. We cannot judge the future based on now. Think about it. If we have 10 years of calm and the prosperity working together, the narrative will be totally different. I used to work in Israel when I was kid to make money. I belong to a poor family. Refugee family was expelled to Gaza in 1948. So I used to work with the Israelis, and we have nice time. We knew at that time we are enemies. We realized that we are enemies. They are the occupier and I am the occupied. But we could find a common area that benefit both of us. I am a worker, need money, and they need a work. So the question here is how to find a common area. The Israeli, I want to make myself short. The Israeli till now, or they start to believe that we can live without the Palestinian. We can live without solving the Palestinian cause. And some Israeli stopped to see us. They live in Tel Aviv. I go to Tel Aviv, it's a very nice city. When you are there, you don't think about the neighborhood. No, they need to know that we are there. We are very close to each other. Third, the Israeli don't see the benefit of peace. One of the research that I hope to do all the time, what the peace can bring. There was a study by Rand Corporation. If a couple of years ago, the American Economic
I saw it.
Research Center. Yes, if they said if there is a peace in Israel Palestine, the Israeli GDP will be tripled and the Palestinian GDP will be 10 times. We will have money to send to America. I am not naive. If there is a peace in the Holy Land, we will receive 2 million Muslim pilgrims and we receive another 2 million Christian. We will generate $30 billion a year. Palestine is a holy place for everybody. The Muslim will come. We have 2 billion Muslim. They want to come to see Jerusalem.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
So let's work for that. Let's work for that. I propose a plan for the future just to make myself sure. As I said, 2 years reconstruction, early recovery, and the civil society. We need to work on the narrative. We need to work on the narrative. The narrative in Gaza in the past 17 years, my dear Caroline, was for radicalization. I was the only one who worked for the non-violence. For non-violence in Gaza under Hamas, with very, very, very little money. You know why? Because USAID doesn't work in Gaza. Because they boycott Gaza. So I told them, if you boycott Gaza, do you think I will go to Iran to bring money? So the American, they shot themselves in the leg. They left Gaza when Hamas took over, create a vacuum, which was filled by Turkish, by Iranian, by Qatari foundation. And Palestinian, I was grave enough to say this all the time.
Thank you. I want to give
hope. I'm very.
I want to say bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Oli.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to give chance to people who haven't spoken yet, so I'm going to skip the first two, go to Daniel. Daniel, go ahead. I will go to Shlomo and Ellen after. Also, Omar, how good are you on time? Because I know you said you have another event or something.
I'm expecting a call from Al Jazeera in Doha in English.
So like any
in
minute
15
now?
minutes.
Okay, so we're going to go for about another 10 minutes and we'll
15
go.
minutes,
So,
15 minutes from now.
okay, 15. So let's
Okay.
try to give
please.
him his time. So Daniel, let's go.
Thank you very much. Let me know if there's too much background noise. Suddenly there's another conversation going on back there. I'm going to try to condense this. I am not a good person for condensing my thoughts very well, so sorry about that. I will do my best here. Sovereignty and Palestine and self-determination are often confused. They're considered to be synonyms. In my view, sovereignty is a tool used in the post-Westphalian, in the last couple hundred years, to pursue self-determination. One of the keys to weakening American support for Israeli aggression and genocide and so on, is to weaken American Jewish belief in Israel's path towards self-determination. The AIPAC is very strong in part, I mean, it's gotten a lot weaker. It has to spend a lot more money these days to maintain its hold on the U.S. Congress. But it got its start because there was general unanimity amongst American Jews, and it could call on them to descend on Congress members. That ability is evaporating. You know, half of American Jews roughly, you know, don't align with AIPAC, don't align with Israel, you know, and of course you can see how they're resisting it. The American security establishment, on the other hand, is a kind of a third force. You know, even if AIPAC is weakened, you know, and its hold on Congress weakened, we've still got the problem of the American security establishment having this uber goal, this ultimate goal of emasculating Iran. And, you know, and I think that is a significant part of the reason for American support for Israel through its genocide in Gaza, into its aggression in Lebanon and Syria, because it has this ultimate belief that anything that can help our aircraft carrier, so to speak, take on Iran and weaken Iran, you know, is a good thing. We are at the cusp of a possibility of getting into what could be a $5 trillion war in Iran. And that would, of course, probably ultimately turn the bulk of American people and the security establishment against support for Israel. It would finally definitively kind of cause Israel to be seen as a liability.
Daniel, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up because we're going to run out of time. And
I just did what I said I would try not to do. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess I'll just leave it at that. I'm working on an article that I will make available when it's available.
Sure.
And so thank you very much.
All right.
Can I say something?
Hold on, Samir, please wait your turn. Alan, go ahead.
Yes, the one thing I wanted to put into this, I think, Joseph, that these simulations and the meetups need to be more in present time and in Israel and Palestine. The 300 legislative groups that you have laid out should begin to have in each of those groups the meetups to begin to make on the ground the reality of this process coming into being. And that begins to merge with an actual history, perhaps, of the widening outreach. That's my real, as an organizer, perspective on this. The simulations are marvelous. The discussion is excellent. It needs to be on the ground and people on the ground beginning to see how this might actually feel, 1 or 2 in each district, and then 10 and 12, and how do they begin to get along and make this on the ground. It's beautiful and can be, and quite independently of how the big powers try and work it out. And Israel and Palestine are but pawns in aircraft carriers and other people's armies and navies. But there's something beautiful here, but put it on the ground beginning now. Your next simulations.
Thank you. What city are you in, Alan?
I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Oh.
And so many of the people here are not on the ground. And if you begin to see how these legislative districts that you have an outline of could actually fit on the ground, and people begin to see, you know, well, we're in this district and you're in that district, and how do we communicate between districts? It's really needed among the people. It's needed among us all in the diasporas of our various communities. But take it the next step. Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right, go ahead. Go ahead. We're gonna do Shlomo and then Samir. Omar, I don't know if you had the last 2 comments were more statements than questions, but I'm just looking at the clock. That's why. So Shlomo, you want to go?
It's okay.
Go.
As long as I'm not in call by the Al Jazeera,
Okay, no problem.
Don't
Go
trust
ahead.
the media. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, it's just that a lot of the last two comments were more focused on the U.S. It seems that we're always worried about the U.S., where the organic, the indigenous issue is more important to me, that Palestinians and Israelis kind of have to take the initiative so not to be dependent on foreign powers and their plans for the thing. I think that those last two statements. But anyways, go ahead, Shlomo.
That's true.
First, thank you very much, Omar, for coming here and doing what you're doing. I'm ever since oh well, I left Israel 40 years ago, realizing where the direction and is really bad already there then, and so now after October 7, I'm sorry to say that I'm very pessimistic, and I wonder. The model that I built in my mind is the following: Israel, the Zionism needs anti-Semitism, but it also needs a majority of Jews, and this is how to say it? It's
illogical.
It's not just illogical.
Unpractical.
It is. They make it practical. You see what they do.
But it is not.
I know. In the long, you're absolutely right. In the long run, it's not only not practical, it is suicidal. So what I see, Samir, for you too, I see genocide with suicide behind it. And that's why I'm so pessimistic. Of course, the piece that you were talking about, that Omar will absolutely agree 100%, I wish. But what I see is Smotrich and Ben Gvir and people like them who make history here. And the history that they want to make is extermination of the Palestinians and have the whole land. They don't see any possibility, and they don't want to see any possibility of living together. And that's very, very worrying. And the only place that the only power that can save us is the United States, unfortunately. And the United States, I don't know what the interests are. I doubt that they have any good intention. So yeah, we are in a very bad situation. And just like last sentence is to Samir, to Nasir, is that I fully understand where you're coming from and what you're saying, and part in me agree with you. But Israel make a chessmate, right? Israel turns to the Palestinians and said, okay, either you are being obedient slaves or you fight. But if you fight, we will kill you. So now what? Now what do you do if you're a Palestinian? And that's what Israel is doing.
For me, it's the lesser of two evils. It's like, do you want to genocide us all within a matter of a year or over a period of 20 years? I'm going to take the 20 years so that I can go by other means to address this conflict. And I think that's why. So it's not saying that the PA is doing a good thing, but the PA is trying to stop because it took less than 1 year to kill 50,000, and these are people just by war, not to mention those who died of lack of health care or heat strokes or heart attacks or premature births and stuff. I mean, we're probably talking more like 100 to 150,000 people dead in Gaza right now. But this is that point, and I think that sometimes we have to be more realistic. Anyways, thank you.
Yeah, okay. I just want to say something that if the Israelis
but Samir, know that we have a person behind you, and I think Omar might be getting a phone call. So please, like 2 minutes, like 1 minute, 1 minute, wrap it up.
Okay. If the Israelis don't learn from their own experiment, they will never learn anything from anything. And their experiment is a witness. It was successful. When we talk about one-state solution, it's already done. The Israelis did it, and they just need to copy it. And if they don't know how to copy their experiment, they are the most stupid people on earth. And if they are waiting for the US to do something, no, it is among them. They have to fix it. The US, whether Trump or whoever, they will do whatever they want. Trump is willing to, if they annex the West Bank and Gaza, yes. If they say they want to give equal citizens to all Palestinians, he will say yes. So the solution, it's upon the Israelis themselves, and they have to face reality, and they have to end it. Thank you.
Omar, would you like to comment?
I think Anna is waiting.
Anna is.
Yeah, but I wanted to give our guest the opportunity.
Joseph. Yes, Omar can continue because he has other obligations very soon. So I'll take my turn afterwards. Thank you.
I agree with most what you have said. The American don't do what they have to do. They give Israel in the war $30 billion. Israel war in Gaza is a fundraising. They received $30 billion. They didn't do enough to stop the war. So why the Israel? What can be the incentive of Israel to stop the war in Gaza as long as they receive more money, they receive the support? Blinken visited Israel 20 times. Blinken said, "I am Jewish before I'm the foreign minister of America." Israel need good advisor. I don't care about them. They are my enemy. But I think Israel is not doing the right things for itself. And if Israel is in the middle of the Arab, Israel is more hated than before. And this, with the war in Gaza, I can tell you now, as we did 20 years ago, it will impact the people in the Arab region, the Islamic region. You will find somebody in America does something bad, or all the time I like to say one story, and please tell me this. Give me 2 minutes. There was a man who's 22 years old. His name is Omar al-Farouk. He was from Nigeria, Shlomo. He went to Yemen, and he was trained by Al-Awlaki, the director of ISIL at that time. He went to Amsterdam airport, and he was about to hijack American Panam Airlines with 300 American passengers. And he caught, fortunately. And he was asked, why you want to do that? He said, I want to help my Gaza people. He never been to Gaza. He was son of doctor. He's rich. He's in Nigeria, not in the middle of Africa. He's not in the Middle East. Google his name and you'll find this story. So don't give the bad people to do what they think they help us. When I was in America in May 2021, just before the September 11. I'm lucky that I was there and I left before. He did this on our behalf. Saddam did that on our behalf. But you didn't ask yourself a question. Did they ask our opinion about it? I hate very much when I was in America, invited by the officials. I have a visa from U.S. Embassy in Cairo, and I was stopped in the airport. Why you are here? Why? I want to be treated equally. I want to be treated normally. But we are paying the price twice. By Netanyahu, who support Hamas, by the war, and by making you hate us. So we have to speak. And the American either to act as an unbiased mediator or to leave it. And I agree with that. On the longer term, the Israeli and the Palestinians should come together, and we have the ability to come together. I was in Doha last month, and I said this war, if this war have one good thing, is this war should end. Abbas, Hamas, and Netanyahu. The three of them should go.
Thank you. Go ahead, Anna.
I would add a few more names to this, but I agree.
Yeah, but the minimum is 3, Shalom. You can add Trump and Biden and others. It will be a catastrophic after this cost, destruction of Gaza, and then Yair, the father of Yair, will continue to be there.
Go ahead, Anna.
Thank you. I have a question for all panelists, but for Omar mainly, if he can share his insight and his answer. Do you know what happened prior to the October the 7th events? I believe those events, strategically and methodically, led to the events on October the 7th. Can you please share your insight if you can?
Of course, I don't know everything, but I know something that I can judge. in the past couple of years, Gaza become a battlefield for the regional power. Because when Israel put the siege on Gaza, they sent Gaza to the closer to the Iran, to Hezbollah, to Syria, to the ISIL in Sinai. And Sinai has a border with Gaza. And the Egyptian central government was very weak in Sinai. So Sinai was a platform for all the radicals. And there were many people from Gaza left Gaza, went to Sinai. So Iran, as they were using Yemeni, Houthi in Yemen and Hezbollah in Lebanon, they were using Hamas in Gaza as a proxy war. And Iran, they didn't build one school. There is no school in Gaza that road was built by Iranian money. But the Iranians were giving Gaza some $30 million a month. Where this money was going? At least American, they were giving Israel weapons, but they were building some infrastructure, some school in Gaza. So you can see USAID here and there. So the Israeli politician, they were focused only in the short-term gains. Gaza is silent, Gaza is okay, but there was something boiling underneath. And we were trying all the time to speak to the American and to the Israelis. I wasn't brave enough to meet with Israeli, sometimes Chatham House, sometimes without media, to speak that don't think that the situation is good. And there is a saying, I'm sure you know about it. If somebody fall from a high-level building like Empire Square in New York, it takes him 5 minutes to reach the ground. But within this 5 minutes, he will say, it's good so far. It's good so far. In 1 minute, he will dump in the land and they will kill it.
Do you know the agreement that they had made, the pact between the Israeli government and Hamas 3 to 5 days prior? And it was actually in regards to the meeting, international meeting, both in Italy and in Egypt. Do you know that pact, the agreement?
Yes, of course. There were many agreements.
Yes.
There were many agreements
for the demilitarization of Gaza and to stop the ethnic cleansing and to stop the grabbing of lands and to stop actually the illegal military action there, and they had agreed. Do you know what happened a few days before the October the 7th? Israeli militia broke the pact, the agreement.
Yes.
And they pushed even further. And they continued more vigorously the illegal military action. Now, most of our panelists do not know that. And that's why most of us use this key point, October the 7th. No, the outcome of months and years of illegal military action. But nobody speaks about that. We all go silent. We have to face the truth. We can't play stupid. We can't play dumb. Playing stupid is the most dangerous game of all. This is where it led. Playing stupid. Thank you, Omar. If you have something to add on top of this, I would welcome it.
Agree with you totally. Unfortunately, the media and the politician, they don't care about the problem as long as it's not boiling. There was a siege in Gaza. Radicalization has been going on, but yeah.
All right. I think we need to end at this point. I just want to, first of all, thank Omar for your time, for your generosity, for participating in this simulation, and for your support for the IPC. I thank you so much. And I want to thank the audience for participating and also remind you to join the IPC meetup group. You can see the link, and I'll send an email to everyone again to remind you to join the IPC. And thank you all. Thank you, Omar, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you,
Omar. Thank you.